A fairer folk than us. I'll be brief. I went on a hike around the woods near my new house a few months ago, since I wanted to explore. I found the circle of mushrooms around a patch where it looked like the earth had been freshly piled up. I got curious, so I grabbed a shovel from back at my place and went out there to dig. I couldn't believe what I came up with, and as of right now, I'm kinda terrified. I found two things, one of which being a thin red notebook. I have decided to share the entries I found inside. Only some have dates to them, and others are completely illegible due to the dirt and damage done to the paper. Here is what I could make out. 1 May 3rd, 2020. I have got my descent scheduled for 3 p.m. this afternoon. I will enter through the hole below the roots of the old oak tree in the grove near my garden. The tunnel should take me directly underhill. Peony said he would be waiting for me there. I am worried he won't keep his promise, but when I last met him, he assured me he would lead me around. I took the old bird-shaped gate ornament and put it on a string so I can wear it around my neck. It's wrought iron and very sturdy, so I am confident it will keep me safe. I have also packed up enough food and water to get me through a week or so. Hopefully, I don't think consuming their food will do me any good, even if they should be willing to share. I'm just sad Peony won't let me bring my camera. I can't wait to see what's down there. No one wanted to believe me at uni. They called me Professor Nutbag, but I will show them. 2. May 4th, 2020. I'm here. I'm actually here. And it's normal I would say beautiful, but this place is actually far from it. It's really dark down here, except for the small fires here and there. They are like controlled sources of light, and just burn away in the morass. The ground we're walking on is either swamp-like or soft yet earthy, like that in the forest. Peony kept his promise. He was waiting for me by the end of the tunnel. When we first met, he appeared to me in the shape of a woman, and the day after that, when we met to negotiate, he was a young man. Now he has stopped, even trying to look human. His skin is inhumanly pale and thin. You can see every vein underneath. His eyes are empty. He has no pupils or irises. There is just white. It freaked me out at first, but I think I got used to it pretty quickly. His hair is of a dirty blonde, but it's feathery and thin. He has a meager, lightweight frame, and when he greeted me on the other side of the tunnel, he wasn't wearing anything except a torn pair of pants, the only purpose of which probably being to obscure his privates. I think he's wearing them for my sake. Really, most others down here don't seem to care. He has promised to introduce me to his people in exchange for the milk and bread I offered him when we first met. He has traded his name and word for it. From what little I have seen of it already, most creatures inhabiting these catacombs have little dens of their own. These individual hiding places seem to be a very private thing to them, and Peony has generously allowed me to sleep in the same spot as him. He said it's safer than sleeping out in the open, where everyone could see me and possibly try to get off my iron or something. Sure, trusting him to not attempt to do the same is risky, but I have his word. Part of our contract has been that he will not put me in harm's way, and he appears to be unable to stray from his promise. The first day I spent down here has been relatively uneventful. Peony has led me through the catacombs and explained some very helpful things to me. For one, I am not allowed to eat or drink anything I find down here, since some are poisonous to humans, while others have strong hallucinogenic properties. Their effects are more than welcome on certain occasions if you will, he told me, his slight smile on those thin pale lips of his. Occasions like what? We have days or rather nights. It's mostly nights, really during which we have what you might call parties. They are either sacrificial or festivities to honor our roots and nature, he explained. I asked him what kind of sacrifice those were, but he simply said to wait and see. I don't have to wait long apparently. There is going to be a gathering tomorrow. Its purpose is the celebration of the success of the changeling. Said creature isn't in our midst anymore, but the child they have replaced will be brought underhill, according to Peony. Before sharing the following entry, I should probably note that the author's handwriting is very messy in this. 3. May 4th, 2020. I can't believe what I have just seen. The party Peony had announced to me exceeded my expectations by far. It started with them, all these creatures creeping out of their holes and corners and gathering in a huge cave. It looked like a forest, just dark and fenced by these high stone walls. Two of them dragged in a child, a little girl in a yellow dress, not older than maybe 9 or 10. She was screaming and thrashing, trying to escape the grasp, until finally they let go, and she stumbled right into the bulk of waiting fairies. They let out screams of joy that drowned out the child's cries, and before I knew it, I had lost sight of her. Peony was quick to lead me off sides, giving me a few words of warning not to get dragged off in the crowd. "They don't want to touch you," he said, nodding at my iron amulet, "but they might find other ways to antagonize you. Be careful. You may do as you please, but it would be safer if you had to stay here." I told him not to worry, and he disappeared into the crowd, leaving me near the cave's wall, from where I watched the surrounding creatures. A few of them had settled down close to where I was standing, and I sneakily drew close to see what they're doing. One, a man with a dog's head, was resting with his back against a stone wall, seemingly asleep. There were also two females, one with 2 extra set of arms, and another one with striking red hair. The latter had her back turned to me, and when I carefully began approaching, I noticed they seemed to be kissing. I really didn't want to be a creep, but ever since Natalie left me, I have been in a bit of a mood, and let's just say, seeing two barely dressed women making out was something I couldn't help but want to see. I tried to get some distance between us, but I found my gaze wandering back to them every time, and then suddenly she was there, right behind me when I turned around. "So you like to watch?" Her voice was mature and sharp, but soft at the same time. I swallowed, feeling that heat rush to my cheeks. "I'm sorry," I stammered. "I didn't mean to." "It's all right." Her eyes narrowed. "I don't think I have ever seen a human just stand around here like that. What's the deal?" "Research," I told her truthfully. "And you don't speak like someone who has never heard a human talk before. What's the deal?" She smiled. "I am relatively young. Hasn't been long since I was taken here." "You were taken here like by force?" "Yes, pretty much. My car broke down in the middle of the woods, and I had no connection, so I couldn't really call anybody. I was really freaked out. So I started to walk through the forest. Not the smartest thing to do, I know, and that's how it happened. I'm sorry to hear that," I replied. She raised her head, giving me a weary grin. "It's not all bad, but I miss the warmth." I was pretty intrigued at that point, and she admittedly had my complete attention. I asked her what she meant by the warmth. "The skin, the flesh." She smiled. My God, that smile. I couldn't decide whether I found it frightening or irresistible. "Will you let me touch it?" Her eyes grew wide. "Take off your iron so I can touch it." I backed off. That had been way too straightforward. Still looking at her, I hadn't noticed Peony standing behind me and bumped into him. "Leave him be, Lily," he said coldly. Staring down the woman with the red hair, she shrugged, winked at me, and turned on her heels. "You really shouldn't be talking to the likes of her," Peony advised me. "Listen here now. We made a deal. It's my duty to watch out for you, but no one else's. They will try to tempt you. Don't fall for their games." He took me back to a small cave, where he told me to lie down to sleep. I quickly wrote all this down using my little flashlight. I am planning on eating some of my rations, which I took with me from home, before I'll try to get some sleep. 4 May 2020. My head is aching. I can hardly see these words as I'm writing them. I just hope this is somewhat legible. Peony says the effect of the drug Lily gave me won't wear off anytime soon. It's on me, really. So as I said, I met Lily again. She came into the cave when Peony was away. I was lying awake at the time, unable to sleep. She didn't come close. She didn't say anything at all either. She was holding a cup, or rather a crude bowl. She slid it over to me and then left. I was confused and didn't know what to make of it. But I was also curious, so I took a look at it. It was filled with some sort of dark, thick liquid. I could see bits of leaves swirling around in it. It was completely odorless. Staring at it only opened more questions, so I decided to take a single small sip. I figured having so little of it couldn't harm me. How wrong I was. It started with my vision blurring, the dimly lit cave around me, the heap of leaves and hay that was Peony's bed, my own bags and equipment. They all began to fade into a haze of different colors as the burrows started to turn around me. Then came the voices. A flurry of quiet hisses and pleading whispers, begging me to take off my iron. Some sounded gentle, some furious, but all of them filled me with a deep sense of terror and fear. By the time the voices finally fell silent again, I was already doubling over and throwing up. Peony found me in a terrible state. I was lying on the ground, coughing and sweating, tears running down my cheeks. At first, he wanted to take me back to the surface immediately, but even in my daze, I refused. I told him I wanted to stay, that there was still so much I needed to see. What he said then somehow stuck, even with my head spinning and my mind clouded. It's not my decision to make, but I fear that, should you stay, you might never see the light of the day again. 5 May 2020. The throbbing pain in my skull finally stopped earlier. It feels wonderful. I used my clarity to ask Peony about what had happened. I swear this guy has literally just white in his eyes, but he somehow looked disappointed. I warned you of our food and drink. It seems you simply don't want to listen. I'm sorry, I replied. I am not the one who will end up losing his life if you do wrong. Don't apologize to me. Somehow he still sounded insulted. If it helps, let me share some knowledge about the one called Lily with you. We are a free people, and even though we have someone who can give us orders, which we would gladly follow, he has given up his reign ever since his lover left Underhill. We have been on our own since then, and newcomers like Lily were never introduced to the ways of old. The likes of her don't care about anything except their own amusement. Therefore beware. She won't seek a trade, let alone friendship. She chases after her own satisfaction. What kind of satisfaction would that be? She craves flesh, Peony told me. Some of us have been keeping humans by their side, by force, since the beginning of our kind. But the indulgence in the meat their dead bodies offer is relatively new, just like her. I don't argue with him, but I'm just going to say it. I don't think Lily is a bad person. She was taken here by force, and maybe her curiosity and her missing human warmth caused Peony to get a wrong image of her. I don't think she meant any harm when she came to give me that drink. I believe she was actually looking out for me. After all, how could she have known? I already had rations with me. She probably assumed I was thirsty or hungry and brought me some leaf soup. I want to talk to her again. That's the last entry in the notebook. It all stopped very abruptly. All of the following pages are blank, except for the one right after that. There are only 3 words written onto it, and to be honest, they sort of look like they were scribbled down by someone who has never held a pen before. The letters are large and scraggly and are almost scratched into the paper. Pity the dead. I don't think they are written by the author of the other entries. For one, it wouldn't make any sense, but there is also the other object I found in the dirt. It's a bird-shaped gate ornament on a torn piece of string. Thanks for watching. If you like this video, don't forget to subscribe for more videos like this.